Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Just thinking about all the stuff going on, the reaction to it, the worry about it, trying to figure out how close we are to the end of the world, which is what a lot of people are thinking about. They're wondering, is this gonna keep getting drug out and go on? Is this, are we all overreacting to this? Is this really not that big of a deal when they tell us that they want us to eat bugs and own nothing and be happy? Are we about to see the biggest bloodbath of World War III and nuclear war that humanity's ever seen? Or will they just be coming up with some kind of way to turn this into a big money and land and freedom grab like the people that rule the world typically do? Thinking about this, life, it's a lot of different things. I mean, it's a lot of struggle. It's trying to find happiness. It's trying to make something for yourself and of yourself. It's also just about survival. I mean, in the end, from just a biological sense, I guess you could say, life is just about figuring out a way to eke out a survival in this life. See how long you can make it. And with the things going on, a lot of people are kind of thinking along those lines. That are we getting to that point of survival? Are we getting to that point that we're going to have to start viewing life differently than we have, where it's been about success and prosperity and enjoyment and finding little ways to live as comfortable as possible, whereas in past history people were just trying to figure out how to survive, how to make it to the next day without getting killed by some wild animal or in some crazy battle, where to find the food to keep themselves and their family alive, or just trying not to freeze to death that night in their little hut or dugout or wherever it is that they're laying their head. And I think a lot of people, their fear is the unknown. We're not really sure what's about to happen. We're not really sure if this is going to get really, really bad, because it has the chance of that. It's not making a prediction, it's just stating a fact. Everything that's going on right now certainly has the chance of becoming a pretty bad ordeal. And I'm not just speaking of a war, I'm speaking of all of it. We've had a lot of economic problems. There's all kinds of predictions and warnings of how bad things are going to be when it comes to food, and there's all kinds of diseases and viruses and pandemics just around the next corner, according to the people that, are in control of it all. So I think a lot of the trepidation that people have with all this stuff that's going on is probably more the unknown than it is anything. How bad is it? What's it going to be like? Am I ready for it? Have I stocked up enough? Have I waited too long? Did I move fast enough? Am I strong enough? Do I have the endurance? Do I have enough people around me? Do I live in the right place? Or is any of it going to matter, because we're just all going to die from some nuclear weapon vaporizing us? Probably similar thoughts have gone through some of your minds. And while I certainly don't have the answer to those things, I can't tell you that as a people, humans, not just Americans, but as people, we've gone through some pretty rough times in the past, real rough times. We've experienced great and grand hardships throughout the ages. Seen lots of wars, lots of disease, lots of famine, just lots of heartache. In fact, the vast majority of human existence has just been trying to barely survive, just barely make it, just barely get through. Only really in the last century or so has humanity gotten to the place where, for the most part, most of us aren't really trying to survive anymore. We're just enjoying life. Most people aren't really out there on a day-to-day basis just trying to stay alive to the next day. And so I think that from our perspective, it seems very daunting to try to make it through all the things that could possibly happen over the next months and even few years. But I'm pretty sure that it's survivable. I'm pretty sure we can make it. Pretty sure that if we set our minds to it and we make the proper preparations, that we can get through all this. And I say that only because we've done this before as people. We've made it through tough times. Maybe worse, maybe not as bad, but we've made it through tough times as individuals, as people, as groups of people. And I'm pretty certain that this isn't the absolute end of humanity. I mean, partly because there's no place in the Bible where it talks about that, at least not at this stage in the game, anyways. And I think that what we are experiencing can definitely be survived. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. And so, for those of you that are struggling, you're worried, you're almost in a panic. And I know that many of you are. You try to hide it. You try not to talk about it. But I do get the emails. I read them, most of them. And I see that a lot of you are either coming right out and saying that you're in a panic, or you can kind of read between the lines of the email, and I can see that that's definitely something that's worrying you, that you're just kind of getting to the end of your rope, it seems. And just because you may not have all the training and experience or the perfect little homestead or all the food and the gear and everything stocked up, doesn't mean you're not going to survive. Those things make surviving easier, that's for sure, but they're not a guarantee. And they're also not the only way that you can make it through all this. In the end, the most important thing, and there's two most important things that you need to have to survive, is get your spiritual walk where it needs to be, get yourself spiritually in order, and then have the mindset to survive. Surviving isn't always about the stuff. Surviving is about having the mindset to live no matter what happens. There's countless stories throughout the ages of people that have been in a predicament that they should not have lived. Absolutely shouldn't have lived. And yet they did. And they lived possibly by the grace of God and a miracle, but a lot of times it's just because they determined within themselves that they would survive no matter what the odds were. And they did. And so for the lot of you out there that say, well, it must be nice to have a homestead. I'm stuck here in my inner city apartment in downtown Chicago or whatever. You know, I figure I've gotten emails from people. You know, I try to prepare, but I figure I'm just probably end up going to die of all this. I'm just not going to survive because I don't have stuff. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not in a good location. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm overweight. I'm old. All this kind of stuff. I get these emails. I figure I'm probably not going to make it. Well, you may not. With that attitude, for certain, you probably won't. But if you're determined to survive, and you're determined to overcome the odds, and you're determined to take on whatever comes at you and to push through it, well, you might make it. And no matter how bad things are and how bad they're going to get, and odds are they're going to get worse, you need to not allow yourself to accept defeat before the battle even happens. Because at that point, you might as well just give up. Keep pushing forward. Yes, we may be entering into a period of human history that's kind of the survival period. It's not the luxury and comfort period. It's the survival period. Whatever it is, if you try, if you set your mind to it, and you push through, and you understand that you're going to endure hardships and pain and struggle, but you're okay with that because it's all about surviving, then there's a good chance you'll make it. And you just have to give it all you got, folks. Don't give up before the battle even begins. Need to be stocking up. Lots of talk now about rationing food and rationing other things. That may end up happening before we know it. Keep stocking up. Keep learning how to survive. Things that your grandparents and their parents probably knew. And then if you can, figure out a place to go and live that's a little bit more survivable than the city. Doesn't mean you can't survive in the city. It's just going to be easier if you're not in the city. Less people means less problems. Folks, bottom line is you need to be getting your houses in order. You need to be preparing mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Folks, we are living in uncertain times where chaos seems to be around every corner. With wars and rumors of wars, economic collapse, pandemics, and more, we should strive daily to become more prepared mentally, physically, and of course spiritually. Please check out My Patriot Supply for all your preparedness needs. My Patriot Supply offers Ready Hour food, Alexa Pure water filters, and many other emergency and survival products. My Patriot Supply is an American-owned company, run by Americans producing American-made food. Emergency food from My Patriot Supply has a 25-plus year shelf life. It's simple to fix and delicious to eat. With My Patriot Supply, you can sleep at ease at night, knowing that you and your family have the emergency food to last through the coming times. To find out more, click on the link in the description below or go to preparewithtravis.com.